All right. So CBS this morning came out with a video, or they reported on the tax credits, and they had a couple families on there, and they gave different scenarios, different levels of income, whatever. And whenever they had an accountant actually do their taxes under the new tax care plan, or the tax plan. Well, I tell you what, just go ahead and check it out, and I'll come back and we'll talk about it a little more.
Most Americans will get a tax cut next year under the plan Congress passed this week, but figuring out exactly how much your family will save is tricky. Republicans say a typical family of four earning $73,000 a year will see taxes drop by more than $2,000. But circumstances can vary widely depending on factors like income, the number of children, or where you live. Tony Dokoupil set out to learn how the legislation will affect some taxpayers. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. Recent polls suggest a sizable number of Americans actually oppose this tax bill. But now that lawmakers have passed it, we wanted to see how folks will actually fare. So we asked households from 3 different parts of the country to send us their tax returns, and then we had an accountant calculate how things will change for each of them.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
As Republicans sent the tax bill to the White House, Marcy George wondered if it would make a difference in her house.
It didn't seem as they were going along that it would really affect someone like me.
A single mother who rents a home in Cary, North Carolina, her income last year as an administrative assistant was a little under $40,000.
Financially, I struggle. I live paycheck to paycheck. I make things work. I readjust and rearrange, but we do get by.
So will getting by get any easier? We brought her 2016 tax return to Jeffrey Levine, a certified public accountant at Blueprint Wealth Alliance on New York's Long Island.
If she were your client, what would you tell her?
I got good news for you, Marcy. You're getting more money back next year.
He says she'll benefit from a doubling of the child tax credit, and based on her returns last year, he estimates a savings of about $1,300 in taxes.
That would be more that I would be seeing in each paycheck, so that would be a good thing.
Amber and Jason Edwards were also hoping for some good news.
I hope it alleviates, pressure on the middle class. Whether it does or not, I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
They're married homeowners with no kids in Providence, Rhode Island. As college educators, they took in more than $150,000 last year as they worked to pay down their student loans.
Financially, we're doing okay. We're certainly, not at the poverty level or anything of that nature.
Jason, who blogs about their finances, wanted to know how things would change.
I actually think they would pay tax on about $12,000 more of income, but because of the lower rates, they actually end up saving a little bit of money.
Levine says the couple will switch to the newly increased standard deduction, which means a simpler return with no itemized deductions. He thinks they'd owe about $650 less than before.
Honestly, I'm a little surprised because, well, what you had said, initially, you thought we were going to have a higher tax bill.
Right.
They're not the only ones. Melissa and Lane Lev also expressed concern about next year's taxes.
I'm thinking they're going to be higher, and by how much, I don't know if I could answer that. I'm just thinking they're going to be higher.
Married with 3 children, they own a home in Fresno, California. They opened a cycle studio last year, and Melissa is a pharmaceutical sales rep. Their combined income in 2016 was around $300,000.
We were doing well enough to take a risk and open up a small business in our town.
It's definitely hard work and definitely a lot of stress when we have so much of our worth on the line, so to speak.
Lane and Melissa are from California, very high income tax state. So there are a lot of people worried, oh my goodness, this is really going to hurt me.
They thought it was going to be a big bill.
I'm not surprised. It actually is really going to help them, though.
Levine says their itemized deductions, including breaks for state and local taxes, will be much lower. But they'll no longer be hit with the alternative minimum tax and will now qualify for child tax credits when they didn't before. Overall, he estimates they'll be responsible for nearly $13,000 less in taxes.
Well, that's good.
I like the sound of that. Can I get the accountant's number after this?
So wait a minute, so all 3 families that we brought to you, they're all going to see a decrease in their taxes.
Every single one of those families will have more money in their pocket next year.
The accountant Jeff Levine points out that his calculations are only estimates, and he says everything could change in a few years when many of these new provisions expire.
Good news for everybody, but I think you started a fight in the Edwards family.
Indeed. You know, one thing, some Republicans, you may recall, were waving postcards suggesting that filling out your taxes would be as easy as filling out a postcard. According to that accountant, not so much.
Not so
It's
much.
still going to be calculated. The phones are ringing in his office.
I want to talk about the Edwards family. Amber had a classic wife move. Well, what you said initially was. I love it. I love it.
What she was really saying is, you were wrong.
Wrong. Yes, you were wrong.
We get more money. All right, Tony, thanks.
So, as you've seen the video, I'm sure CBS had a spin that they was wanting to, and I will say this. I got to give CBS credit, and see a lot of people that are commenting on this video, they're laughing this and that, but I will give CBS credit. At least they reported it and actually showed it instead of letting their their bias against Trump overcome them like it would with CNN. Because I would be surprised if CNN does this. CNN more than likely is gonna, I'm gonna tell you, CNN's probably gonna make sure they're gonna go through hundreds of people to try to find somebody that's gonna pay more. And they're gonna report on just those. But I give CBS credit for actually reporting on this and actually showing the truth instead of just saying we hate Trump, anything that he ever does is bad. Democrats told us that it's bad, so we just got to go ahead and rail against it, but no matter what. I got to give them props for that. So, in case you like that video, that's mainly what this is about. Not feeling kind of under the weather or whatever, so I'm not feeling the greatest. So, but that's the good thing about this. Is that I'm not saying that in every single case that everyone's going to save money, but it looks like a lot of people are going to save money. But I could tell you this, people's bias against Trump will make them be upset about it. So I will say this is what I'll say to every Democrat that hates Trump no matter what. I'm just going to say anybody that hates Trump no matter what. You go ahead and get your taxes done, but make sure that you follow the old rules. Make sure you don't take the double tax credit or for the child tax credit. You don't take that. Make sure that you go by the old rules. And I know you have to go by the new rules, but make sure that you let the tax person know, look, even though I'm going to save whatever amount, I still want to pay as much as I was going to pay under when, that way it's always been. I want to make sure that I'm doing my part because I hate Trump so much. Make sure that you do that. All right. And I'll take every deduction or every tax cut that I possibly can and put that right in the old pockets. So that's my video. And thanks, and have a Merry Christmas and all that. And we'll see you on the next round of anti-Trump madness. Anyway.